This is Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports, and welcome to another NASCAR edition of You Kids Don't Know.
Winners like Jeff and Brett Bodine.
Jeff Bodine coming through.
Good catch. Like football.
Your parents would know him as Geoff Bodine, not Geoffrey. He asked fans to start calling him Geoffrey late in his career, a career that included one of the most amazing violent crashes in NASCAR history where the driver survived.
This is gonna hurt.
What many people know Bodine for is arguably the biggest survival act in the sport's history. In the first truck race at Daytona in 2000, Bodine's truck got hooked and then airborne. It was ripped apart by the catch fence as designed, but then hit by several other trucks. Most people at the track who witnessed the accident figured it would not be survivable. Maybe the initial hit could have been, but the additional strikes by other trucks certainly would have proven fatal. But several minutes later, Bodine was on a stretcher fiddling with the oxygen mask medics had placed on his face. He had survived, and fans hit by debris in the grandstands also were not critically injured. It was a miracle of miracles. Bodine even said that he saw his father, who had died a few years earlier, in the aftermath, and his father told him he had more work to do here on Earth. Geoffrey Bodine was always a fighter, always one to rise above the odds and not afraid to innovate to go fast. He started racing in the mid-1970s, where he took on the best in the modifieds in the Northeast for several years. A native of New York, he wasn't supposed to challenge the top drivers from Vermont, New Hampshire, and the other states in the upper Northeast. He did more than just challenge. He won track championships at a variety of tracks, including famous Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. He won major events from Martinsville in Virginia to Oxford in Maine to Thompson in Connecticut. In the early 1980s, he headed south to try NASCAR, and again, he quickly made a name for himself, this time in a stock car, a heavier vehicle, but one he learned to manage. He brought his fierce style to NASCAR and was the Cup Rookie of the Year in 1982. The success attracted a man with a vision, a car salesman and motorboat racer named Rick Hendrick, who hired Bodine for his new team. After some early struggles, the team nearly folded, but Bodine, who had won so many times at Martinsville in a modified, begged for Hendrick to let the team race at Martinsville, even though Hendrick's wallet told him he couldn't afford to race.
When I think back how close we came to not making it and having to close the doors, let's go one more race. Let's go to Martinsville, because Jeff's good there.
You kids might know the rest of the story. Bodine won Martinsville for the first victory for Rick Hendrick, who now owns the most wins for any Cup car owner with 280 following the 2021 season. But that wasn't Bodine's only big win for Rick Hendrick. He delivered a Daytona 500 victory in 1986, a victory that truly put Hendrick Motorsports on the map. You kids don't know the importance of that victory, how it solidified Rick Hendrick's place in the sport, in the battle for drivers and sponsors. While Bodine was a favorite of Rick Hendrick, he wasn't the favorite of everyone, especially Dale Earnhardt. The Intimidator loved to drive a loose race car to the brink of crashing and handling it well enough to go faster than everyone else. In Geoff Bodine, Earnhardt had met someone who could do it just as well, and sometimes even better.
They actually touched and slammed each other up into turn number one, but they're doing it all the way around the racetrack. Look at Bodine sweep around out of that draft. That's the one place you really get hooked up in a draft, go back into the lead.
They were fierce rivals, and just months after his Daytona 500 victory, Bodine was called to Daytona by NASCAR ruler Bill France Jr. to meet with him and Earnhardt after many incidents on the track. It was a scene later depicted in the film Days of Thunder, where they had to ride in the same rental car to a dinner as part of the meeting. In the movie, the drivers get separate rental cars and then race to dinner. While that story of separate rental cars wasn't real, that scene indicating that Earnhardt and Bodine had some mutual respect for one another was, and Bodine continued to earn the respect of his competitors throughout his career. He finished that 1986 season with 8 poles and 2 victories. The guy wanted to lead every practice, every qualifying session, and every race. That sometimes led to more wrecked race cars than a car owner would like.
Geoff Bodine out of control. Geoff Bodine. Geoff Bodine with a wild ride. He's a couple of flames, Jerry, shooting out from beneath the hood, and we are under caution.
In 1990, racing for Junior Johnson, Bodine enjoyed what would be his best season with 3 victories and 19 top 10 finishes in 29 races. But there were still 12 races where he didn't finish on the lead lap, and he ended up third in points that season behind Earnhardt and Mark Martin.
No one remembers who finishes second. It doesn't matter what race is in, they always only remember the winner, so.
The bottom line is, Geoff Bodine loved to race. He didn't worry as much about how much money he made. He wanted to go compete. And let me give you two examples, one inside of motorsports and one outside of motorsports that you kids just might not know. He bought the team from Alan Kulwicki's estate after Kulwicki died in a plane crash during the 1993 season. Bodine had bounced around to a few different teams, and he decided maybe he could just do it on his own. The next year, he won 3 races driving for the team he owned, capturing wins from the pole on the big tracks at Pocono and Michigan. And he also won at North Wilkesboro, giving him a short track victory. He did among a frustrating year, where he dropped out of 8 races because of engine failures and another 6 because of crashes. Bodine never could get consistency with the team he owned, but he grinded it out like any racer. His final Cup win came in 1995 at Watkins Glen, giving him road course victories at Sonoma and Riverside in the Glen in his career. Bodine would later sell the team a couple of years later. But winning in race cars he built wasn't his only accomplishment as an owner in racing. Bodine wanted to build snowmobiles for the U.S. bobsled team because it frustrated him that the United States was getting its bobsleds from foreign companies. Bodine and his partners started a company to create the best and most innovative bobsled, and they began supplying bobsleds to the United States in the mid-1990s, eventually winning 3 medals in 2002 and gold in 2010. Bodine was inducted into the U.S. Bobsled and Skeleton Hall of Fame in 2020. Now, he's not yet in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, but he might be one day. The final statistics of Bodine's Cup career show 37 poles and 18 Cup wins. Those 37 poles rank him 16th on the all-time list. In addition to his NASCAR and modified stardom, he also won a title in the International Race of Champions. He raced all the way through age 62, where he competed in 4 races. Bodine has lived a storybook life that is hard to describe to you kids without having been there to witness it. He once dated singer Tanya Tucker. His family drama once spilled onto the racetrack, with brother Brett wrecking Geoffrey for the lead at the Brickyard 400. That's right, before the famous battle of the Bush brothers, where their one-time dislike for one another showed in the way they raced, the Bodines had their own on-track savagery, where they weren't talking away from the track and then aired those grievances in front of a national audience. It was a rift that has since been mended. It wasn't just all glory for Geoffrey Bodine, but what you kids don't know is that Geoffrey Bodine's career was, for sure, glorious.
Hey race fans, thanks for watching our video. For all NASCAR on Fox News, content, and the best clips from Fox Sports, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel.